Some of them are just on the surface, some of them go all the way through.
The
And if you
recording?
could zoom in close enough, that's probably what your red cells would look like. They would almost look hairy. There's so many antigens on. There's hundreds of them.
Is there any
What-
that would have
This.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Shall I pause it?
No?
Deceased.
Okay.
What is the most common cause of delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction as far as what antibody is most notorious for causing this?
I only remember that because my boss is so childish. And I'm like,
Kib.
Anybody know this guy?
Jason Kidd.
Yeah,
They can
Jason.
get.
Is this on D2L?
Not yet.
Will you put it on?
Yeah.
No. Okay, thank
Do you know the other nickname?
you. No.
The Kid?
Billy, the kid.
Black Thunder.
White Thunder, yeah.
What antigen is associated with secretor status? Remember that SE inheritance?
Yes.
No.
Little S, little E.
No, it's the weird one. It's,
There's one we don't care about.
CW?
Oh, you're disappointing me.
Yeah, I know.
That's big, that's big.
IgA.
Lewis. You,
Remember
Lewis.
this guy?
Yeah.
No.
You listen to the news.
Yeah.
Freaking great band back in the 80s.
I'm.
Back before you were even thought of. Well, look, this is 1984, so
She wasn't around yet. Neither was I, though.
I was rocking some Huey Lewis in the 80s.
How old are you?
Oh. I'm to the point that I'm no longer compared to dirt. Dirt is compared to me. What genotype may provide protection from malaria?
Oh.
BO means you stink.
It's the D.
No, it's not one of those
It's
rare
what? Spit it
ones.
out.
The D.
Week D.
It starts with a D.
Duffy said
Duffy.
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 More specific.
Duffy A. I said Duffy.
Neither.
Duffy A B.
It seems that malaria needs the Duffy in order to attach. If you're negative for both, it provides protection from malaria.
And don't most black people have Duffy antibodies?
They lack them. They're
Well, like,
born
yeah,
negative.
like Duffy antibodies.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Selective evolution.
Neat.
And now this only helps with certain species of malaria, but one of them is the most common, so there is some protection there, especially in West Africa where it's endemic. Central Africa, not so much, different species. What blood type are screening cells and panel cells? All those bottles
Oh.
of blood we got.
A1 and B1.
What?
Oh.
I heard another answer.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, positive or negative?
Okay.
Which one?
Negative.
Positive.
Negative. Depends on whether or not it has the plus sign under the D. They are type O. Why do they have to be type O?
Because they don't have any antigens to react with the rest of
If
the
you tried to test a type A with a person's serum plasma who was type B, it would automatically agglutinate. It has to be type O.
It has to be on what?
Where do they get these type of screening and panel blood cells from humans?
Yeah.
Remember,
What
they
do
have.
they do with the blood to like make sure it's what's it called, able to use as screening and panel?
They screen it for all these antigens and determine whether it's positive or
They don't
negative
have
for
those.
each, and then fill out their little paper. But they have to be type O or it'll agglutinate with other blood groups. If you're not middlehead, you don't know type O negative. Great, got that now. Okay.
I know who they are. But I don't think I want to.
What type?
I can't remember if they're like super hardcore or they're like really depressing.
Really depressing.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
the
Yeah, I knew it was
baby,
one of those.
if the mother is negative and the baby is positive.
Or mother's
Totally
A.
irrelevant.
The mother's O.
RH.
baby's A.
Most common. What type of antibody?
D.
IgG.
Yeah.
It has to be an IgG to cross the
The
placenta.
placenta.
So any of your antibodies that are IgG have potential. If it's IgM, it's too big to cross the placenta. That's a big antibody.
Oh my God.
IgG.
I love
I know
Iggy.
that.
That would be the stank antibody.
You right.
She's cute. I can stand her.
What?
What's the first item?
What's the first step to a cross match? And you'll often see it abbreviated X match, by the way.
Okay.
FYI. Hmm?
Label on, draw blood, make sure you get the right.
After drawing the blood, but
Okay.
once it makes
Oh.
it to blood bank.
You gotta get their information, correct information, because that's where we screw up the most in blood bank.
Thank you, baby. You're gonna spend whatever type tube you get, right? Check this, check this.
Yes.
Well, you know, get their information as well.
You have to start
Check the
all over
history.
again with the acne.
Know what you're dealing with. Check the history.
What? They're trying to let work with acne, you have to start all over again with acne. That's destroyed.
That's the story. I'm 45. I still got acne, so it doesn't help. What antibody group causes the most severe transfusion reaction?
D.
We're talking fatal.
A.
ABO, the ABO group.
Yeah.
Giving them the wrong blood type altogether, the heck with all the other antibodies.
It's gonna explode.
Usually fatal within 3 hours. The ABO messing that up is the worst thing you can do. Best case scenario, you give somebody the wrong blood type, you destroy their kidneys, they'll spend the rest of their short, painful life on dialysis. Most of the time, you're gonna kill them. As far as hemolytic disease of the newborn, what group causes the most severe reactions? RH. The RH group.
I'm not gonna do what a cat
Grumpy
tells
cat.
me to do.
Didn't Grumpy Cat die?
Yeah.
Grumpy Cat did die. Very unfortunate.
That cat looks pissed.
That's why it's called Grumpy Cat.
Oh.
What is the most immunogenic antigen? The most one that most often will cause an antibody?
D.
D.
I wrote that down so many times.
D.
That is the most immunogenic.
Yeah.
What's
Big.
Big Bird?
yeah, why is
Why isn't Big Bird in there?
Why not?
Give a little color to the photo.
It's Sesame Street and Star Wars. They're two classics. What's the second most immunogenic?
E, the big. No.
Make
C?
me start. Cool.
Literally,
Rare.
Duh.
Big D.
We
Duh.
don't
Any other
know.
guesses?
No.
Huh?
Okay.
Oh,
Well, potassium C is
Kale is the second most immunogenic, right behind
Kale.
D. If they're Kale negative and you give them Kale positive units, odds are they're going to develop Kale, which is fine. You just got to deal with it next time. What are the cold antibodies?
IgM.
They're IgM,
M, N, S, and S. Alright, Lewis, I, P, N, S.
not S.
Oh, not S.
Lewis,
Oh, it's ice
IPMN. What are some other ones? That reacted, think of reacting at immediate spin. What else is IgM? Your ABOs.
Yeah, you can see it with that compound.
Yeah, we don't incubate our blood types, so ABOs are as well. But the ones you need to most remember are these.
oh.
It's like he
Flip
was,
man.
looks like he was
He paid good money for this.
Is that the man Barbie dude?
No, what?
He
No.
paid thousands of dollars for this look.
Yeah, he did. And he also pays for his like abs and everything else.
Putting chapstick on too.
No, they're gonna rot and fall off on that.
Yeah.
His vermilion border is turned inside out.
He'll look like a dude from Hellraiser with no lips and just teeth chattering. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Lewis, IBMN. Remember, I is big I and little I. What does a DAT detect?
Direct antibody.
Direct to what?
Blood.
Just like the blood mixes from putting on a baby, right?
Is it directly on the cell?
directly on the cell. It's already attached. This is not floating around in the plasma. This is stuck to the red cells. So you get a negative screen, but if you do a DAT, you get positive.
Love him.
They're already stuck.
This man.
This guy's kidding me.
He's funny as hell. He's the best storyteller I know.
If you find a positive DAT, what do we do about it? How do we determine what the antibody is?
Your antibody screen.
No, it's stuck to the red cells. You can't detect it in the screen.
So,
What did you say?
Well, the first step we gotta do is get it off of that red cell.
we're gonna watch it.
No, it's stuck. You ain't gonna wash it off.
Oh, I don't know, I ain't answered.
Yeah.
Can we lyse the cells?
Yes, that's called an elution. You can use either acid, which is a chemical means, or a mechanical means called the Louis freeze. Freeze them, thaw them, they all pop. Now we have antibodies floating around. Now we can test it. As long as it's stuck to that red cell, we can't detect it. So we have to get them off.
Transfusions.
Number one, transfusion. What else?
Pregnancy.
Pregnancy. There are exceptions, of course. Some are naturally occurring.
Baby.
Baby.
Yeah, it's still a baby.
Was it mama's babies and daddy's babies?
I paid the old lady that before it was okay to just bring them to a computer.
Wow.
Everybody lose an arm.
What?
For real?
So pregnancy and transfusion causes most antibodies. Which ones are the exception? Which ones are naturally occurring?
ABO.
ABO. What else?
D.
What are the ABO?
Sex link, right?
You know, guess. Naturally occurring antibodies. Lewis. Big I and little I, not technically naturally occurring, but they don't occur as a result of transfusion or pregnancy. They occur as a result of infection.
He died too.
He did.
In 2016.
Lutheran, that's just an FYI, you do not need to know that on here. But under rare circumstances, it's naturally occurring as well. Do you know the story behind this movie about the boat scene when everybody is like completely freaking out?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't describe the scene to the other actors, and Gene Wilder was winging it. They thought he had really lost it and
Really?
was going to kill them. Those reactions you see where they're terrified is real,
Oh, wow.
which is why it's such a great scene.
It's a great movie.
So ABO, Lewis, both naturally occurring, big I, little I, as a result of infection. You all remember what big I comes from, the infection? Walking pneumonia,
Yes.
little I, mono.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Why am I disappointed?
Exam. 35 questions worth 81 points. Starting with 5 matching. Is anything there I didn't cover? What groups of antibodies do we typically consider to be clinically insignificant?
The cold.
The colds. Y'all remember the colds?
Lipman.
Then you'll get that. No, this one's so easy. Match the antigens with their symbols. What's the symbol for Lewis?
Yeah,
Lewis.
LE. The symbol for Duffy.
they're
Y. What type of antibody is a Duffy?
Do it now?
Type of antibody is a Duffy?
Warm.
which means what? What?
IgG.
IgG.
Yeah, because
So can you detect that as immediate spin?
no,
What you gotta add?
you gotta add or
You add complement, you're gonna lyse your red cells.
no,
Add
you gotta
Coombs.
what?
Enzyme-treated panels. Do they increase the number of antigens?
No.
No. What they do is uncover a lot of antigens to make them react stronger. It doesn't increase or add anything. Can you detect a cold antibody at Coombs?
No.
If you eat fix, yeah, you can.
It usually gets weaker, but you can still detect it at Coombs a lot of times.
Huh.
So technically, your cold antibodies, you can detect at variable phases. You might pick them up at immediate spin, 37, Coombs.
It'll get weaker though, right?
Should get weaker as it warms up, but you can still detect it at multiple different phases.
Okay.
All right, someone's A positive. You need to give them blood. You have no A positive units. What do you give them?
Oh, negative.
O. A negative, O. I mean, know your compatibility. Simple enough. If someone has anti-K, big K, in their plasma, and you give them K positive units, how likely are they to have a transfusion reaction?
Very. No.
Almost 100%. Remember, that is a very immunogenic antigen. So if they have the antibody and you give them cells that have the antigen, they're gonna have a reaction. It's probably gonna be severe. If we do just an immediate spin cross match, what's the only thing we're gonna detect with that immediate spin?
IgM. Because you don't have.
You're gonna basically verify ABO compatibility, and maybe you pick up an M or an N or something. Trauma and ER. They need 6 units of blood right now. What do you do?
Oh, emergency release, doctor's fine.
Emergency release. Oh, what?
Negative.
Oh, negative. They give the patient the blood. He gets stabilized. They get him drawn, you get your pink top and all that. What do you do now? You go back and cross-match all of those units you gave. And now you cross-match any future units as well, now that we have blood.
Question, when you do that in the ER, now you have a massive transfusion, how many would you typically cross? I'm sorry, I know it's not.
How many would if they want a massive, I usually give out no more than 4 at a time.
Okay,
I'll give them 4 units, if they want more, they'll come get 4 more.
gotcha. Just one.
Because typically, you can only give 1 unit per IV line. It's hard to get 4 IV sites on people. It can be done, both arms, both legs. Typically, they're gonna have both arms, so they can only give 2 at a time, so they only really need 4 at a time. That gives them time to come back and get 4 more. After we get him stabilized and we get our blood drawn, we've given him 6 O negs. Now we discover he's B pos. They want 2 more units. What do we do now?
Pour your B pause.
Give him B pos and cross match them. We need 4 units of blood. Patient has an antibody. The compatibility frequency of this antibody is 21%. How many units do we need to screen?
So use the opposite number.
I said compatibility frequency is 21%.
So 21 over 100, so 400 divided by 21. Someone who's good at math. Thank you.
Yeah, roughly, because it'd be like.
Notice I said compatibility frequency.
Yeah.
I'll say it the other way.
If I said antigen frequency is 21%, how does that change your number?
79 over 100.
If I said antigen frequency, it's 79 are compatible, not 21.
Mm-hmm. And it's always compatibility over 100.
So it's 400 divided by 8.
4, 5.
About 5. Phrasing is important there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got a patient with an antibody. We have screened units. We have found 4 negative units. During cross-match, all 4 units showed no agglutination at Coombs. When we added check cells, all 4 units agglutinated. What's our determination?
Stays the same.
They're all compatible. At Coombs, they were negative. That means compatibility. There's no reaction between patient's plasma and this donor unit. We added check cells and it came up positive. That means we did the procedure correctly. It was properly washed and all of that. We give a unit of blood to a patient. 30 minutes later, they begin to react. Their temperature goes up. They begin to get chills.
You don't stop that blood, they're having straight fever reaction.
What is the most common cause of this?
Allergy.
Allergic reaction is most common. How would we determine that it was not something we did?
Do they give them Benadryl and get better?
No.
Not
Anytime there is a reaction, we are going to retest the blood. Upon retesting, everything showed to be compatible, safe, everything's good. It is nothing we did. Most common cause is going to be allergic reaction.
Allergic to
And
blood.
that is very common. What?
Allergic to blood.
Allergic to whatever's in that blood they didn't
They
like.
would have had peanut butter. That's right, I forgot about that now.
Yeah, that's my best analogy. I ate a peanut butter sandwich on the 31st when we got our blood drive, and I go donate blood. You give somebody with peanut allergy, they're gonna have a bad day. They're gonna live, but they're gonna have a bad day.
Like,
They're gonna get itchy hives and all that stuff. It's a good time.
well, won't they go into anaphylactic shock though if it gets severe?
If severe enough, yes.
So
But you're in the right place for
They
that.
gotta have you.
Anaphylaxis can be stopped if you're in the hospital. You've got a 20-minute window.
okay, 20 minutes. Okay. Scary.
All right, we do a type and screen on someone that's positive. We do the panel, it's positive. We determine our antibody is Big E.
Okay.
We need 3 units of blood. What's the next thing we do?
We're
Look for
gonna do this chart,
compatibility.
figure out what our compatibility is, right?
Yeah, but after that,
Then you figure out how many units.
okay. We determine we need to pull 3 units
You turn the screen across.
before that.
So you're,
What's in between those 2 steps?
We're gonna test these 3 units for the presence of the E antigen.
oh, so you know if they're,
Because if it's positive, we're not even gonna bother cross-matching that one. We know it don't work. We're then going to cross-match the ones that are negative for Big E. So type, screen, panel. Now we're gonna antigen type units and we're gonna cross-match the negative units. Because any of them that are Big E positive, we know we're not gonna work. You have a patient come in, you pull the history. They have a history of Duffy A. You do your type and screen, and it's negative. They're O positive, negative screen. You do a panel, it's negative. What do you do for this patient to cross-match blood?
Yes.
At Coombs, it's negative. Whether you detect it or not,
it don't matter.
if they have a history of this antibody, you're gonna give Duffy A negative units.
Oh, because it could have weakened at the time.
That's right.
Still have it though.
Because when it was positive, that could have been 15 years ago.
Right.
Any history of an antibody, the rest of their life, even if this was an error, regardless, the rest of their life, they're gonna get Duffy A negative blood.
Okay.
Precautionary. I mean, like I said, even if we assume this is wrong, as a precaution, we're not giving them anything that has the Duffy A antigen on it. So whether we detect it or not, if there's a history of an antibody, we're gonna give antigen negative units. Always. There's a panel. Let's see. Okay, I give you a panel, and then the next couple of questions will tell you like, this patient was positive in number 1 and 3, and the next patient was positive in 4, 6, and 8. What's her antibody? Or what's your most likely? What's your most probable antibody is how it's phrased.
No, so we're gonna have to like do the crossing and determine.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's 3. 3?
You're gonna have a whole chart or just the ones that are significant?
There's 10 cells, so it's almost a whole chart.
Okay.
You receive an order for a type of cross match on a surgery patient. What is your first step?
Check patient history.
Check your patient history. Check your records. Figure out what you're getting in for. Do I always check the history first? No. Textbook answer, check the history first. What I do is I pull the history card while that screen's incubating because I got 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right.
But your first step, textbook answer, check the history.
Yes, sir.
Because that will determine where you go from here. Ideally, if they have a history of an antibody, you skip the screen and just do a panel, don't do a screen. Because we're trying to see if it's the same thing. Hopefully everything matches and it's a perfect match for what it's supposed to be. If it doesn't match that, now we've got to consider maybe they have more than one now. Maybe you have, like our patients, we have 4 now. So the one I had at CHI in Little Rock had 7. That's a good time right there, by the way.
Did you say that there is an equation where you have to find the percentages of the percentages if they have multiple
Yeah.
antibodies?
We're not gonna worry about that.
Okay.
You need to know one at a time.
Okay.
Percent compatible over 100 equals
Units needed.
number of units over X and cross multiply. That's all you need to know about that. There is a question like that, and since you don't have a chart, I give you this number, but watch how it's phrased. Like I said, that's your whole test. There's 2 matching sections there. 1, 2, 3, 6 true, false. And then, multiple choice, a few fill in blanks, 1 math problem. That's it. Total 81 points. Any questions?
What's the fill in the blank?
Not true and false.
Some of your fill in the blank is gonna be your panels. What is it? I may ask, what can you not rule out?
Wow.
So do you rule out correctly?
Right on.
So you only rule out off your negative cells, correct?
Do we get the whole time to do this test? The only reason I'm asking is because I
Get
don't,
17
my
minutes.
crayon.
You get 17 minutes. Everyone else gets an hour and a half. You get 17 minutes.
Oh, Lord, of course.
Remember, your rule out, you only rule out off of your negative tubes.
Yes.
You get your negative tube, you go across and you put a line everywhere there's a positive.
And the ones that you can't rule out is the one with 1 line through it,
Or no
right?
lines.
Or no line.
But regardless, you should have one perfect match, right? If this antigen is positive in 1, 3, and 5, then you're positive in 1, 3, and 5, then that's your culprit.
Are you gonna have them where they don't meet the rule of 3?
Could be.
You got it.
Don't give away a test, Fran.
I'm not trying to give away anything. Mine, I'm just trying to understand.
I'm just playing.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure it's on our minds.
I want it to be on your mind. Did I do that to you? I don't know, maybe.
I'm gonna say maybe it's yes.
It's a trick and it's Jason, so it's most likely on there.
Yes. I don't know. I'll be prepared for it.
Are we done? I didn't look at that
You're
grade,
done, yeah.
and I'm pretty out this morning when I'm thinking, now, micro, I'm gonna give you a good grade. What grade? I don't know.
You'll do fine.
Okay,